Hey guys, how you doing today? Uh, Day 2 million, trillion, babillion of the COVID-19 crisis. And today I think the real big news that's circulating around is that the military did a report of 5 private long-term care old folks homes, basically. And what they came up with was troubling information, to the point where even the premier, the conservative premier, who has supported these policies and who has done everything he can to make these policies worse, has said that, oh, well, it's very troubling, and it's one of the hardest pieces of information I've had to deal with as premier. I hope so. I hope that looking at the consequences of your policies, Doug Ford, is hard for you to swallow, because everything you believe about how an economy works is fundamentally wrong. Like down to down to the bottom possible level. The bedrock foundation of neoliberal conservative thought is not only wrong, but disastrously evil. And so that's really what I want to talk about today is, the consequences of these old folks' homes, right? You have residents living in these places calling for help and not receiving any. The place is short-staffed, filthy, bug infestations, plates just piling up in people's rooms, things like this. And of course this is what neoliberal capitalism wants, right? This is how neoliberal capitalism operates. Everything needs to be done on the most shoestring possible budget. Things that you would consider completely normal, so comfort, general care, those are secondary to profits, right? And it's this constant retraction, right? You're constantly pulling back on what you can do. It's this incrementalism that happens where maybe you start, oh, my little guy, see, he's got opinions on this too. Don't you, Milo? Don't you, buddy? My little guy, he's got opinions on this too. And he's not a big fan. And so maybe, you take a place that is properly funded, right? And this is classic conservatism number 101, right? You take something that is functioning, right? A public resource, a public system. You insert your worthless middlemen into it, and you steadily start to siphon money away from that public resource into the pockets of the private individual. The lie being, and they'll repeat this lie repeatedly, they still repeat this lie, and it is completely a lie. The lie is that, oh, well, you lower our taxes, or, yeah, sure, we funnel it away, but only so that we can turn around and reinvest it. This is an obvious, complete, and total farce of a lie, right? They're not reinvesting that money back in to any enterprise. That's not what... If that was the case, they would have done that. They have hundreds of billions of dollars at their disposal. They could have 100% have done this with anything, right? But their goal is not to improve the lives of the people living in their care homes. The goal is to extract as much wealth from these people who we have given them responsibility of. And capitalism, neoliberal capitalism especially, but capitalism turns everything into a commodity, right? So the fact that these people are living in filth and misery is irrelevant. It doesn't matter to them at all. What matters is how much money they're paying and how much they can get away with what can they cut, right? We can do with less dishwashers. We can do, yeah, so an old person needs to live in filth. Oh well, I made some money, I'm going to go to my care home, right? And it really reveals, this kind of thing really reveals that people... I do think that Doug Ford is mainly clueless about what the actual human impact... And I think that's true of all conservatives. I think that conservatives are largely clueless about what the actual human impact of what they're talking about is, right? When they say, we need to make systems more efficient, what they really mean is like we need to make them more efficient to extract wealth for us. And that has an actual cost on human lives, because once you commodify a human life, then it's expendable rather, and you can just get rid of it whenever you would like. And it hardly matters that these people are suffering. It hardly matters that they're calling out for help and all of this. These are the same people who are telling people to get back to work in the middle of a pandemic, right? So, very cleanly, I think we can say, especially with this care home situation, this whole pandemic is really revealing that neoliberals do not value human life, right? Human life is expendable. Just a number on a piece of paper, that as long as it makes a penny for a billionaire or a neoliberal capitalist, you can do what you want to any human you want, right? I've been saying it for a while, but I mean, capitalism operates through slavery. That's the non-consenting activity of the populace. One of the great fraudulent claims about neoliberal capitalism is that everyone is acting voluntarily in the society. A more fraudulent, delusional statement cannot be made. Food and shelter is withheld from the populace in exchange for selling, and to get it, we have to sell ourselves to a market that is largely dominated by billionaires. The solutions that neoliberal capitalism is willing to tolerate are, if you find a slaver who you don't like, go find another slaver. Of course, they're all slavers, so you're always going to find, you're always going to run into, like, they're willing to be a slaver, so that's the level of moral ability that they're willing to exist on. Thanks, buddy. Thanks, buddy. I know, a bird. I know, and he's upset about wage slavery as well, as we all should be, if we acknowledge that it exists and it is real. So that's one way, right? You just go find another slaver, right? Of course, this is just trading one rotten apple for another rotten apple. That's not a solution. And in fact, because capitalism is designed to destroy itself through the commodification and exhaustion of the populace, that's not a solution, right? That's just kind of a childish discarding of a person's actual statement. The other solution is to attempt to become a slaver yourself, right? That, oh, well, you just start a business and you exploit workers and you monopolize a resource, right? And it's that's also not a solution, because not only are you just continuing to maintain and spread suffering throughout the populace, it doesn't ameliorate the essential problem of capitalism, which is that it's designed to collapse. And as it collapses, it does things like we see in these nursing homes, these private-run nursing homes, where our most elderly citizens are just treated as commodities and discarded. And I'm sure that behind closed doors, these capitalists are like, well, these people are dying anyway, so, and if they die, we'll just get another person in there, right? So it doesn't matter. Because neoliberal capitalists do not value human life, even a tiny shred, not even slightly. I mean, you have like a Trump administration aides who just recently called us human stock, right? Human capital, human stock. Like, it's disgusting. And the people who talk this way are disgusting people who should be expunged from the political system, if not the society writ large. We really are in this moment where we are being faced with the natural consequences of neoliberal capitalism, which is that it empowers sociopaths. It has allowed our society to be taken over by the worst, most reprehensible people in our society. And it's really revealing the inherent contradiction that exists in capitalism. that if the place is run by sociopaths, it will eventually collapse, right? Because those sociopaths will grind your wages down, right? They will raise your rents, raise prices, right? They'll cut your services. They'll eliminate everything that exists in the civil society until eventually the members of the society can no longer actually purchase the goods and services being produced by the structures that are owned by the capitalists. And so the system collapses. Now, if you're a neoliberal, right, and you're a sociopath because you're a neoliberal, you're fine with that. Because if the system collapses, you just leave. You just go find a different society to exploit, enslave, and collapse, right? You just keep moving around from society to society to society, which they threaten to do all the time. Like they'll just leave, is what they say. And that's what we're witnessing here, right? I said this before in my last video, but it's absolutely true. And it's still going to be true for the longest time. We are witnessing the collapse of neoliberal capitalism, and the decisions that we make now are decisions on how we rebuild a stable society, how we structure a society so that it eliminates the parasites and eliminates these sociopaths from the conversation at the outset, at the most basic level, right? I constantly am running into ideas all the time, right? Like the merger of the shareholder class and the working class, that the people who actually do the job should own the shares, is a good start. Just eliminate this idea that some guy living in Florida who couldn't find the business that he owns on a map if you forced him to. If you were going to pay him money to, he probably couldn't do it. They've never set foot inside of these establishments. They don't actually understand how they work or how they run. All they understand is line goes up equal good. And they're more than happy to eliminate employee benefits. They're more than happy to eliminate safety standards. They're more than happy to do any of that kind of stuff to risk the health and safety of everybody who's actually working, including the people who are consuming the good, because they don't care, right? They don't value human life, and they've made that very clear, right? I'm not speaking hyperbolically. Like, I can show you quote after quote after quote after quote, including Andrew Scheer, the head of the Conservative Party, right? Like, these people do not value human life. You're an expendable commodity to their invisible hand god, right? If your sacrifice leads to the line going up, then they call that a net good. And so in that way, they are a sacrificial death cult. And it's just not even it's not even hyperbolic to say that anymore. So as we recover, right, the workers should own the shares. That should just be completely normalized. If you walk into an establishment and you talk to somebody working there, they own the establishment to the degree that they work there. I also think that we should transfer our entire taxation system away from this insipid idea of income, that conservatives bang on about how, oh, well, if we create basic incomes and things, it'll disincentivize work. Income taxes disincentivize work. That's their argument, right? That's why they're constantly saying we need to cut taxes, cut taxes, cut taxes, cut taxes, cut taxes, but they're not replacing those revenue streams with anything, right? Because in their mind, which is delusional, if you cut someone's taxes, they'll reinvest in the society. Zero evidence of it, and in fact, tons of evidence that the exact opposite thing happens. They just squirrel it away in some offshore account. Tons and tons of evidence that that's the case, right? This myth, this delusional idea that they're going to turn around and suddenly invest back into what are you even talking about? The only time a capitalist will spend money is if it's going to make them money. And why would a capitalist invest in a society when they already have all the money, right? You give a capitalist all the money, they're just going to continue. They're just going to hoard that money because there's no reason for them to invest because they already have all the money. And so we need to. I'm of the opinion that we can eliminate the income tax, which I think conservatives would rather like, but replace it with a financial transaction tax. Because as we rebuild our society and as we recover from the neoliberal period, we're going to need more intelligent taxation systems. And the most efficient and least intrusive way of taxing the populace is through a financial transaction tax. Like literally every time any money moves anywhere, anytime, right? You can just put like a 0.01% tax on it. You can put a very small level. I know, buddy. I know taxes, right? Nothing gets Milo more than taxes and birds. And I'll keep talking about all these kinds of ideas and all this kind of stuff. And like, I think we as a society need to start taking these sorts of things more seriously. But most importantly, like, I won't consider us officially out of the neoliberal phase until the Conservative Party is dead. Like, these conservatives are not, like, they are dangerous. You just need to look at these private-run care homes to see how dangerous they are, right? They don't value human life. They want to put us back to work in the middle of pandemics. They deny climate change. All they're interested in is money for themselves, and that's it. They could care less if the civil society collapses around them, because all they're going to do is funnel resources into policing and go crack some heads the way they do. So they're not interested in a civil society. They're not interested in building something that's more egalitarian, that actually works for everybody. They're interested in money for themselves. Just go to their private facilities. You'll see exactly what I'm talking about. And it's not like it's a secret, right? It's not like there's this big secret going on where we're just finding this out. No, we always knew, right? Doug Ford is just finding out. So I hope that he has a come to Jesus moment, right? I hope he realizes that the entire way that he views the economy is wrong. I hope that he realizes that privatization is an evil that exists in our society. I think that we should nationalize these care home facilities. I think that we should nationalize the communications network, so your cell phone, your internet, all of these kinds of things. We can nationalize all of that. I think we should nationalize our food distribution network. We should nationalize our food distribution networks for sure. Or at the very least, the people who are actually working in those food distribution centers should be the ones that own them. The idea that Galen Weston, the second richest Canadian, owns like Loblaws and all these places. Meanwhile, he's just continuously caught in these price-fixing scandals and all of this because he doesn't give a shit about anything except the line goes up, right? And if you die, then, oh well. Like, Galen Weston lives in Florida, for God's sakes. Or like the Dominican Republic, or like the Cayman Islands, or wherever. He's not even in Canada, right? He's just benefiting from a structure that was erected before he was even born. And the idea that he should be the sole decider of what occurs in these facilities is just junk. It's just garbage. And it's a stupid way to organize your society, right? Businesses are top-down tyrannies. And, like, we pretend as though we live in a democracy, but, like, what are you even talking about? You have literally no say as to what happens in the place where you spend the majority of your life, working for someone you'll never meet, and who doesn't give a fuck about you at all, who literally will just tell you to go die for, quote-unquote, the economy. Anyway. We can do better. I know we can do better. I hope that we are going to do better. Something like a basic income is a good start, in my view. And if we can get the basic income through, then there is no limit to what we can achieve as a society. Because if we're capable of making that rational decision, then we're capable of making a lot of other rational decisions. Including expunging the neoliberal capitalist losers from our society who are only interested in killing your grandma so they can make $1. Well, on that note, I hope you're all doing well out there. Good luck. Godspeed.